Welcome to Muscle for Life. I want to talk to you about the stretch tension relationship in muscles and why I think that using huge ranges of motion and massive stretches in exercise form can actually be detrimental to it. Now, obviously, we know that muscles grow from mechanical tension, okay? So, the more tension we put on a muscle, obviously, the greater potential for growth. Now, I was always taught to use a mid range, the working range of a muscle. Okay, in other words, the range of the muscle that you can actually create the greatest amount of tension and have the greatest amount of force production. Okay, if we look at this curve, at a fully contracted position, the muscle doesn't have a lot of tension. Okay, as we look over further to a full stretch position, the muscle also doesn't have a lot of tension, much like a rubber band. Pull it to a certain point, it stretches, okay? As you pull it further apart, it's probably going to break. Okay, these are your sarcomeres. Now these sarcomeres are like a thick and thin filament, and what they do is the thin filament runs over the thick filament, okay, and as they pull apart, the calcium bridges, okay, cause the contraction to happen, okay. So stretch, more tension, more contraction, okay. So what happens here is that as we start to stretch it out and the sarcomeres start to open up, we get maximum tension, okay? This is the maximum force production of the muscle and the greatest amount of tension on the muscle. Now what happens as we open it out further? As we can see, as we open it out further, we lose the tension on the muscle, okay? Now obviously when we get to point C, that's going to be where the muscle probably rips, okay? And the reason that is because you no longer have much calcium binding, okay? And the muscle fibers start to pull apart. Now that can be a problem. So why is it that we've been told that we should be using maximum amount of range of motion to create muscle growth when we can be using the working range of the muscle motion, where the force production is greatest, put the greatest amount of tension on the muscle and potentially build more muscle? This is something I've questioned for a long time. Now that to me basically says that if I'm going to go and do a movement, what I want to do is I want to go down to the point where I feel a stretch in the muscle, but not a full stretch, just a slight stretch, which creates the Golgi tendon organ to switch on, which then creates, a contraction, a strong contraction. And we want to do that in a range of the muscle that is actually a very active range of the motion where the sarcomeres still have the ability to produce force. So now many exercise scientists are going to argue one way or the other, and no one seems to be working somewhere in the middle. Now, there is certain people that suggest that, doing a shorter range of motion is going to be better for force production, and there is also people that are going to be suggesting that we should be stretching the muscle to its extremes. I personally like to use the working range of the muscle. So for example, if I'm going to do a bench press, I'll feel a slight stretch and then I'll press. I won't go to a full contraction because I don't get the full tension on the muscle. I'll go to a point where I've got good tension on the muscle, but I'm not losing the tension at the resting position at the top, okay? So if I'm doing a bench press, I'll go down, just touch the chest, and then I'll slightly start to press it out, okay? To the point where I've still got tension on the chest, but I won't lock my arms out and lose the tension in the muscle, okay? So there isn't as much potential tension on the muscle when it's in a fully contracted position, but there isn't as much tension on the muscle in the fully stretched position. So we want to use sort of the range of motion where we feel a slight stretch to the point where the tension starts to get lost, and this is what we call the working range, okay? Same with squats, same with, say, a stiff leg deadlift, and that's a very good exercise actually to look at, because a stiff leg deadlift, when you feel that slight stretch in the hamstrings, that's when you pull back up into the to the contracted position of the muscle. If you go further down, I actually myself lose my hamstrings. It's like I don't feel the same tension on the muscle, and I feel that my lower back starts to take some of the range of motion. I think that's because there's a protection mechanism in the muscle, the Golgi stretch organ, and it actually stops the muscle from actually contracting at that point. So what I want to do on a stiff leg deadlift is feel a slight stretch, come back up, not come all the way to the top because then I lose my hamstrings. So I come back to a point where I still feel the stretch in my hamstrings, okay? And at that point, is probably going to be the working range of the muscle. So slight stretch to lesser stretch, but we're not losing the tension here. And by not stretching too far, we're not losing the tension here. So I hope that helps you guys to understand stretch potential in the muscle and where we can lose the tension in the muscle, but potentially put ourselves into a position where we don't have a good tension on the muscle, both at the top and the bottom of the movement. All right. Any questions, guys, ask, okay, in the comments section. I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.